Let me start with a question. When was the last time you trusted your gut? We use that phrase so casually, trust your gut, gut feeling, gut instinct. But what if I told you that your gut is not just a metaphor? What if your gut is actually a brain of its own, your second brain, one that shapes not only your digestion, but your mood, your energy, even the way you think? Here's the fascinating part. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, more bacteria than stars in the Milky Way. Together, they form your microbiome, a living community inside you. And just like any community, it can thrive or it can collapse, depending on how you treat it. Now think about this. When you feed yourself, you're not just feeding you. You're feeding an entire ecosystem that, in turn, feeds back into you. The state of your gut microbiome has been linked to immunity, anxiety, depression, memory, weight, even sleep. So, here's the big idea. When you take care of your gut takes care of you, and one of the most powerful, and surprisingly simple, ways to do that is through fermented foods. Fermentation is ancient. Long before refrigerators, humans figured out how to preserve food with microbes. Kimchi, sauerkraut, yogurt, kefir, miso, kombucha. These aren't just trendy health foods, they're survival foods tested by generations. They are alive, they carry beneficial bacteria that help restore balance inside us. Think of fermented foods as ambassadors from one culture to another, literally. They bring in new species of microbes, teach your body diversity, strengthen your resilience. A spoonful of sauerkraut is not just cabbage. It's a training program for your immune system. A sip of kombucha isn't just a drink. It's a message to your nervous system. You are safe, you are supported, you are alive. Now, why does this matter? Because we live in a world that often works against our second brain. Processed foods, chronic stress, antibiotics, too much sugar, too little fiber. These don't just make us uncomfortable, they make us disconnected. Disconnected from our inner ecosystem, from our intuition, from our natural state of balance. But here's the hopeful part. Every meal is a chance to reconnect. Every bite is a vote. Will you cast your vote for disconnection? Or for resilience, for inflammation, or for healing? Your gut microbiome is not asking for perfection. It's asking for consistency. It's asking you to remember that what you eat today shapes how you think and feel tomorrow. So I want you to leave today with one thought. Your second brain is whispering to you every single day. The question is, are you listening? If you choose to listen, if you choose to nourish it with fermented foods, with fiber, with kindness, then something amazing happens. Your gut starts to guide you, not just in digestion, but in decision, making, in clarity, in courage. Trust your gut, because your gut is not just where food is processed. It's where wisdom begins. Thank you. When you take care of your gut takes care of you. At first, it might sound like a catchy phrase, but the more you explore it, the more you realize it's a principle that sits at the foundation of human health, human energy, and even human potential. The gut is not just a tube where food goes in and waste comes out. It is an ecosystem, a command center, a second brain that constantly communicates with the rest of your body. It is the first line of defense for your immune system. It shapes your mood. It influences your sleep. And it plays a profound role in how your body and mind respond to the world. Inside your gut live trillions of microorganisms. Scientists call this collection the microbiome, and it is unique to each one of us, like a fingerprint. The microbiome is not just a passive passenger. It is an active partner. It helps you digest fiber. It produces vitamins, it breaks down toxins, it trains your immune cells, and it even produces neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, the very chemicals that regulate mood and motivation. When your microbiome is in balance, you feel more balanced. When it is in chaos, you feel the effects in ways you might not even connect to your gut. Brain fog, fatigue, anxiety, irritability, inflammation. Taking care of your gut begins with awareness. You start to notice the signals your body sends you: the bloating after a processed meal, the sudden energy crash after sugar, the lightness and clarity that come with a nutrient-dense plate. These are not random. They are feedback loops. Your gut is talking, and when you listen, you begin to realize how much it wants to protect you, how much it wants to keep you well. This is where the principle becomes powerful. When you give your gut what it needs, it has an extraordinary capacity to give back. So what does it mean to take care of your gut? It means recognizing that every bite you eat feeds not just you, but also the trillions of microbes that make up your inner community. Fiber from vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains is food for them. Polyphenols from colorful plants are nourishment for them. Fermented foods introduce friendly reinforcements that help restore balance. Water keeps the environment flowing. Sleep keeps the communication lines open. And movement stimulates the system. Each of these is a form of care. Each one is an investment. The remarkable thing about the gut is its resilience. Even if you have ignored it for years, even if you have loaded it with processed food, stress, or medications, it has the ability to bounce back when given the right conditions. Within days of changing your diet, your microbiome begins to shift. Within weeks, inflammation starts to calm down. Within months, your immune system can strengthen. Your energy can stabilize. Your focus can sharpen. This adaptability is proof that the relationship is not fixed. It is dynamic, always waiting for you to re-engage. Taking care of your gut is also about trust. Trusting that when you nourish it with whole, living foods, it will reward you with vitality. Trusting that when you slow down to chew, to breathe, to enjoy, you are signaling safety to your nervous system, which in turn supports digestion and repair. Trusting that when you choose sleep over another episode or another hour of scrolling, you are giving your gut the chance to restore itself overnight. These acts might feel small, but to your microbiome they are monumental. There is also an emotional dimension to gut care. Stress, worry, and constant pressure don't just stay in your head. They ripple down to your gut, disrupting the delicate balance of microbes and triggering inflammation. Taking care of your gut means taking care of your mind, finding moments of calm, practices of stillness, ways to let the body know it is not under threat. When you breathe deeply, when you spend time in nature, when you share a meal with someone you care about, your gut feels it. That is part of the care. Think about how often we demand performance from ourselves. We ask for focus, creativity, resilience, patience. Yet all of those are directly influenced by the state of our gut. If you fuel it poorly, ignore its signals, and drown it in stress, it will struggle to support you. But if you invest in it, if you feed it wisely, rest it properly, and give it room to flourish, it will deliver far beyond digestion. It will stabilize your mood, sharpen your thinking, strengthen your immunity, and fuel your energy. It will take care of you in ways you can feel, and in ways you cannot see, but that are happening silently in the background every day. This is not about perfection. You do not need to live on kale and kombucha. Taking care of your gut is not about restriction or punishment. It is about balance and consistency. It is about remembering that your gut is a living partner, and like any relationship, it thrives when you show up with attention and respect. Even small changes, a daily serving of fermented food, swapping refined sugar for fruit, adding a handful of greens, drinking more water, send powerful signals to your microbiome that you care, and your gut responds in kind. When you begin to see your gut not as an afterthought, but as an active player in your well-being, your choices change. You realize that what you eat is not just fuel for today, but programming for tomorrow. You see that the state of your gut influences how clearly you think, how well you sleep, how deeply you connect with others, and you recognize that caring for it is not a chore. It is one of the most effective and empowering things you can do for yourself. Would you like me to expand *** keynote no? To ** in the same style and length. Fermented foods are not just food. They are living allies for your second brain. For most of history, humans didn't have refrigerators, freezers, or vacuum-sealed packaging. What they had was fermentation, a process where microbes like bacteria and yeast transformed ordinary foods into something more resilient, more flavorful, and more nourishing. Sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, yogurt, kefir, tempeh, sourdough bread, kombucha. These are not accidents of culture. They are the results of survival and ingenuity. What's fascinating is that while our ancestors may not have understood the science behind it, they instinctively knew that fermented foods were special. At first glance, fermented foods might seem like curiosities of tradition or just another health trend, but the truth is deeper. They are bridges between the outside world and your inner world. They carry with them living bacteria, probiotics, that can enter your gut and help reshape the community within. They bring balance where there is imbalance, diversity where there is limitation, and resilience where there is fragility. Think of them as reinforcements for your inner ecosystem, like welcoming skilled guests who know how to calm a chaotic household. Your gut microbiome is an intricate network of trillions of organisms, and diversity is the cornerstone of its strength. The more variety it holds, the more adaptable and resilient it becomes. Fermented foods are powerful because they introduce new strains of bacteria that your gut may never have encountered otherwise. A spoonful of kimchi is not just spicy cabbage, it is a delivery system of lactobacillus and other microbes that take up residence and teach your body how to adapt. A sip of kefir is not simply a refreshing drink. It is a wave of microbial allies entering and strengthening your second brain. These living foods do more than populate your gut. They help regulate its environment. They produce acids and compounds that suppress harmful bacteria. They generate metabolites that feed the good ones. They support the lining of your intestines, preventing toxins from leaking into your bloodstream. They influence the production of neurotransmitters, directly affecting mood and cognition. The relationship is profound. What enters through your mouth shapes the chemistry of your mind. The beauty of fermentation is that it represents partnership. Humans provide the food, milk, vegetables, soybeans, tea, and microbes transform it into something greater than the sum of its parts. In the process, they digest complex compounds, making nutrients more bioavailable and easier to absorb. They break down lactose for those who struggle with dairy. They unlock vitamins like K2 in cheese and natto. They create beneficial acids that soothe digestion. Fermented foods don't just nourish you in the moment. They empower your gut to nourish you continuously. There is also something deeply human about eating foods that are alive. In a world dominated by sterile, packaged, processed products designed to sit on shelves for years, fermented foods remind us of vitality. They fizz, bubble, and shift with life. They taste tangy, complex, surprising. Each bite is a reminder that food is not only fuel, it is relationship between nature and culture, between the microbial world and the human body, between tradition and innovation. Introducing fermented foods into your diet is not about flooding your gut with endless bacteria. It is about teaching your body diversity. Every type of fermented food brings its own profile of microbes, flavors, and benefits. Sauerkraut offers one set, kefir another, miso yet another. The point is not to choose one miracle food, but to create variety. The more different species your gut encounters, the more resilient it becomes to stress, antibiotics, infections, and even emotional challenges. There is growing evidence that fermented foods can lower inflammation, reduce anxiety, and support metabolic health. In one study, people who consumed a diet rich in fermented foods increased their microbiome diversity in just weeks, along with a measurable decrease in markers of inflammation. This is not coincidence, it is the biology of partnership in action. Fermented foods are like small, daily nudges that keep your second brain in balance, but beyond the science lies the experience. Eating fermented foods connects you to heritage, to culture, to ritual. Around the world, people gather to share kimchi at family tables, to pass down sourdough starters through generations, to ferment beer and kombucha as a communal act. When you eat something alive, you are participating in a process that transcends your individual body. It is the story of humanity, microbes, and survival intertwined. Fermented foods are humble. They are cabbage in a jar, milk in a clay pot, soybeans in a wooden barrel. Yet, in that simplicity is immense power. They remind us that the smallest organisms can have the greatest influence. They remind us that healing doesn't always come from the latest pill or supplement, but from traditions our ancestors carried for centuries. They remind us that the gut, our second brain, is not a machine to be fueled, but a living ecosystem to be nurtured. Would you like me to continue with Keynote No. 3 in the same expanded style and depth? Every bite is a vote, disconnection or resilience, inflammation or healing. The act of eating may seem ordinary, automatic, something we do without thought several times a day, yet every single choice carries weight. The food you place on your fork and the sip you bring to your lips cast votes in an ongoing election inside your body. These votes accumulate over time, shaping your health, your mood, your energy, and the strength of your second brain. When you choose heavily processed foods, stripped of fiber, saturated with sugar, filled with chemicals designed to manipulate flavor rather than nourish the body, you are casting a vote for disconnection. Disconnection from your microbiome, which thrives on diversity and whole foods. Disconnection from your natural rhythms, as blood sugar spikes and crashes throw your system off balance. Disconnection from your intuition, as cravings override clarity. This disconnection doesn't happen overnight. It builds quietly until you no longer notice the signals your body sends. Bloating becomes normal, fatigue becomes expected, irritability becomes part of the background. The second brain loses its ability to communicate clearly because the environment it depends on has been eroded. On the other hand, when you choose foods that are alive, vibrant, full of fiber, color, and beneficial bacteria, you are casting a vote for resilience. Every piece of fruit, every handful of leafy greens, every scoop of sauerkraut or sip of kefir is a signal to your gut that you value its community. These foods strengthen the lining of your intestines, diversify the microbes that live within, and produce metabolites that reduce inflammation. They make your system more adaptable, more capable of withstanding stress, illness, and disruption. Resilience is not built in a day. It is cultivated, one bite at a time, until your second brain becomes a powerful ally instead of a silent burden. Inflammation is one of the most important battlegrounds in this election of bites. Chronic, low-grade inflammation is linked to countless conditions: digestive disorders, autoimmune diseases, anxiety, depression, fatigue. Every time you consume processed oils, refined sugars, and artificial additives, you stoke the flames of inflammation. These choices vote for discomfort, for imbalance, for the gradual wear and tear of your body's systems. But when you reach for whole, plant-based foods, for omega-3 rich fish or seeds, for fermented foods that restore microbial balance, you are voting for healing. You are telling your gut microbiome to produce anti-inflammatory compounds to protect the intestinal barrier, to soothe the immune system rather than keep it on high alert. This way of thinking transforms how you see your meals. Breakfast is not just breakfast, it is a ballot. Lunch is not just lunch, it is a decision. Dinner is not simply the closing of the day. It is a message about how you want tomorrow to feel. Every snack, every drink, every indulgence becomes part of this larger picture. And it is not about perfection, it is about patterns. One processed meal will not destroy you, just as one healthy choice will not save you. The power lies in the accumulation of votes, the trend you establish over weeks, months, and years. There is also a deeper level of meaning here. When you view each bite as a vote, you reclaim agency. You recognize that health is not solely determined by genetics or luck, but is shaped daily by the choices within your control. You stop seeing food as punishment or indulgence and start seeing it as influence. Influence over your mood, over your energy, over your resilience in the face of stress. You begin to understand that food is not just physical. It is psychological, emotional, even spiritual. The beauty of this perspective is that it does not demand restriction or guilt. It does not require you to fear certain foods or idolize others. It simply asks you to become conscious, to recognize that food is information. With every bite, you tell your body what matters to you. You tell your second brain whether to prepare for struggle or to prepare for strength. And over time, your body responds accordingly. In this light, fermented foods take on a special role. Each serving is like casting a powerful vote for resilience and healing. They are concentrated forms of microbial diversity, teaching your gut how to adapt and thrive. But so do whole vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and clean proteins. Together, they build a majority that supports balance, and when the balance tips, you feel it. More energy, clearer thinking, steadier mood, stronger immunity. Every bite is not neutral. It is a signal, a choice, a contribution to your inner ecosystem. What you choose day after day determines whether you are cultivating disconnection or resilience, inflammation or healing. Would you like me to refine these 3 expanded keynotes into *** short, punchy speech segments *** that flow together as one powerful talk?